to bring you Miss Oprah Winfrey, ladies and gentlemen.
Now you can. Hello. I'm so happy to be here with all you innovative thinking business people. I really am. First of all, shout out to Aaliyah, who took an Essence cover. There you are. Aaliyah, thank you so much. And to Katie, who I just met backstage a little while ago. Katie, raising 3 kids, grew up poor. I said, Katie, isn't growing up poor fantastic? It's fantastic because it makes you dream bigger. So, I just want to say thank you to the team at Intuit, because when you first called me and asked me to speak about creating a brand, building a brand, what my brand means to me. I saw this tweet today. Discover the best way to build a brand from the woman who wrote the book on it. See Oprah's keynote. So I actually had a LOL moment when I saw that. For real, because there's nobody who has resisted being a brand more than I. Why? I will tell you why. I resisted being a brand because I thought when people started to tell me that I was a brand, and I'd get interviewed in the early 90s and people say, well, you're a brand, tell us about your brand. I'd say, no, I'm not a brand, I'm a person. I felt that being a brand somehow was going to corporatize me, and I would no longer have the connection to the audience, and people would think of me as like this corporation and not really as the person that I saw myself connecting to the audience. And then I ran into a woman at Kroger. We're in the frozen food section. I was wearing my flip-flops, and she said, you that lady on TV? I said, yes. And she goes, I didn't think you'd come out looking like that, but. I said, this is my day off. She said, I want to tell you a story. She said, I used to hear you all the time talk about not beating your kids. And the first time I heard you say, nobody should beat their kids, I said, she don't have no kids. Because how you gonna have kids if you don't beat them? She goes, that's the first time I heard you say it. And then I saw another show you did, and you was on there talking about, don't beat your kids. I go, there she go again, talking about don't beat your kids, she don't have no kids. She said it wasn't the first time or the second time, but every time I saw you do a show about raising kids, you always said, we shouldn't beat our kids. So I said one day, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try for 1 week not to hit my kid. She said, I went 1 week, I didn't hit my kid. She said, then I went another week, I said, I'm gonna try another week. I'm gonna not hit my kid no matter what he does. She said, now it's been 6 months and I haven't hit my kid. I have a different kid and I'm a different person. Thank you for giving me a different kid. She said, it wasn't the first time you said it or the second time, but every time I heard you, you were consistent. You were consistent, she said. And I said, thank you. She goes, my name's Sandra, if you want to talk about me on TV. I said, thank you, Sandra. I've never forgotten Sandra, and that was sometime in the 90s. I went home, I thought about that story. I still think about that story. I think about that story because that, to me, is the definition of what a brand is. That's when I shifted. A brand says, I can depend on you. I can depend on your product. I can depend what you have to offer. I trust that what you have to offer me is going to serve me well. Okay? I accept that. I'm a brand. I'm a brand. Why? Because I believe in the power of consistency. And a brand is consistency over time. So I accept it. Yeah, I'm a brand. And how did that happen? How did that really happen? You know, from the very beginning of my television career in the talk show business, I used my intuition as my guide, and I intuitively understood that the mission of the show, which was my business, that the mission of the show was actually bigger than the show itself. When I did the very first national Oprah Winfrey show, I said on air, our mission and vision here is to let people know that they are not alone. So when I started in television, I was 19 years old. I was just really happy to just have a job. I was in Nashville.
A group of workers staged a demonstration
Yes,
on
that was
Capitol
my
Hill
hair.
this
Everybody
week.
thought it was a wig. And at this time, I was making $20,000 a year. I moved to Baltimore. I was making $22,000 a year when I was 22. And my girlfriend Gail at the time, who I met in the newsroom, my best friend Gail said, "Oh my God, you're 22 and you're making 22. Imagine if you're 30 and you're making 30. And then you're 40 and you're making 40, oh my God." So I made every salary, 22, 25, 27, 30, 35, all the way to $225,000 when I came to Chicago. Drop the mic. I said, over. It's over. I'm done. That's it. I don't need to make any more money. The little known fact is that before I came to Chicago, I did a show in Baltimore called People Are Talking. That show had been syndicated. I did that show with a guy named Richard Scher. We were syndicated, and the little known fact is we were syndicated in about 20 cities, and my Westinghouse contract at the time said that if I got to 100 cities, I would make an extra $10,000. I'm so glad that deal did not go through. So when I came to Chicago, I started doing this local talk show. It was a small little business. It was me and 4 other producers in the room. I say 5 producers and a gay guy. We were in the room, we did everything. We booked, we did the limo service, we got the guests. I would call up the guests. I would end up losing guests because I only believed in telling the truth to the guests. I remember they put me on the phone once to get Marina Oswald, who is Lee Harvey Oswald's wife, and they wanted her to come on the show, so they put me on the phone to tell her to come on the show. And I get on the phone and she says, "I'm just really worried that if I come on the show, people are gonna recognize me." I go, "Oh, they will. They're gonna recognize you. You won't be able to go to the grocery store anymore, so you should probably not even do this show. If you're worried about people recognizing you, this is not the place to come." So I would lose guests. So they took me off of booking, and I became the person that would go out and get lunch for everybody. Taco Bell today, Wendy's tomorrow. So we had this little family office until we became a syndicated show. Now, the interesting thing is, I knew from the beginning that the show, I felt inside myself, intuitively, that the show would be successful nationally. And the reason I believe that is I received a letter from a woman in Ann Arbor, Michigan named Carol. And Carol said, "Watching you be yourself every day makes me want to be more of myself." I had that letter framed in my office for a very long time. I had that letter framed because, thank you so much, Q. I had that letter framed because that is the moment that I realized, that letter from Carol in Ann Arbor, Michigan, that this was more than just a show. We're being able to reach people in such a way that somebody sees me and doesn't say, I want to be like you. They say, watching you makes me want to be more like me. That's big. That's real connection. So, Carol in Ann Arbor, Michigan, allowed me to see and know that we were doing what all business wants to do, and that is to connect to the customer. And our customer was, of course, the audience. So we were successful as a talk show from day one. Out of the box, beating Phil Donahue. That was the station's #1 goal, was to beat Phil Donahue. They didn't think that was possible. When I came to Chicago, they said, you're not gonna be able to beat Donahue. You're not gonna be able to do that. He's the king of talk. You're not gonna be able to do it. So, here's the key word, just be yourself. I said, okay, that's good, because I can't beat Phil Donahue. I'm the only person I know how to be. So I was really happy doing this show that seemed to work, and all of management was pleased that everything was working and things were going well. And then came this moment that changed everything.
You just said, I don't sit with monkeys. You think because she's black, because I'm black, we're monkeys? Is that?
That's a proven fact.
That's a proven fact? It's a proven fact that I'm a monkey?
Could be. Yeah.
Go ahead.
First thing I want to get off my mind is,
I want to talk about this monkey stuff.
these skinheads, ADL, okay?
No. I want to talk about the monkey business. I want to talk to monkey.
So that was a show with the skinheads and the KKK. So I was doing that show because I thought we were going to expose them for their vitriol, and we would talk about how they mistreated people, and everybody would get to see them for who they really are. And during this commercial break, right after that incident of the monkey business, I saw them signaling each other in the audience. And I thought, whoa, what's going on there? They're giving each other hand signals and whispering and so forth. And I realized something came over me, again, feeling of instinct, intuition. Wow, these guys are using me. These guys are using me. They are using this platform. I am being used. I think I'm using them, but they are using me. I finished that show, and I made a decision. I went to the producers and I said, never again. Never again am I doing a show with the Klan or the skinheads or anything that represents the dark side or evil or anything that is going to negatively affect the audience. I will never be used for somebody else's agenda again. And the producer said, I said, we're not doing the negative stuff. They go, well, what are we gonna do? Key word here, decision. I felt it so strongly inside myself that I thought, if I cannot use this platform, because that's what it is, if I cannot use this platform as a force for something that's positive and good, I will get out of the business. I will figure out something else to do, because I cannot be a part of that energy. So the decision to change the way I saw television, to begin to use television and not let television use me, was the paradigm shift that allowed the show to take off. There's a quote by Goethe that says, concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, that ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. This is the key. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. The moment you decide, a whole stream of events, a whole stream of issues from the decision. Raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance which no man could have dreamed would come his way. Once you make a decision, the energy of the universe rises up to meet you exactly where you are to help you with providence to move forward. So it was the decision that everybody at some point in time in their business, in their relationship, has to make. That was a paradigm shift that propelled me forward. So around the same time, as Providence would have it, I read this book by Gary Zukav. The book is called The Seat of the Soul. It's 1989. And in this book, he talks about the principle of intention. And he says that every action, thought, and feeling, hear me now, is motivated by an intention. Every action, everything you do, everything you think is motivated by an intention. And that intention is at one with cause and effect. It exists as one, which means you can't participate in the cause and not participate in the effect. In this most profound way, he says, we are held responsible for our every action, thought, and feeling, and therefore our intention. So my life, my entire life, my business, my relationships were never the same once I actually understood, not just read it, not just talked about it, but understood and lived this principle of intention. This is what has defined my life and my business. And to fully understand intention, you have to understand how it moves in your life. The vehicle for intention is actually the law of cause and effect. Some people call that law karma. In our country, we say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, intention is not just a principle, it actually is law. It's a force that acts as one with cause and effect, or karma. It's also called the third law of motion in physics, which says this: for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. What goes around, bam, comes around. What you put out is coming back, bam, all the time, bam. Whether you believe it or not, it's happening. The energy of your intention causes the effect or outcome in every single situation. Bam. That is happening. It's not a belief, it's a law. I did a movie called The Color Purple, and the character, Celie, played by Whoopi Goldberg, said it best. This is the law.
I knocked you up one day. Everything you've done to me, already done to you.
Wow. That is happening all the time in your life, whether you know it or not. Everything you think and everything you do energetically is coming back to you. Now, I used to hear this all the time about doing unto others, you'd have them do unto you, and I'd be like, well, I don't care if she talks about me, because I'm talking about her. It's okay. That's not how it works. The same person that you're doing something to doesn't have to do something to you. It's the energy of the gossip. It's the energy of the negativity. It's the energy of the intention that is going to come back to you, because intention is everything. This changed the way I operated my entire life. So I don't do anything unless it's intentional. Being here with you today, I'm here because I wanted to be here. And I'm here because whatever it is I might say, my intention is to leave you with some piece of light that enters your heart space in a way that you leave here feeling more deserving and more willing to step into your own power. Now, the truth is, the first guest I tried this with, I won my first Emmy. And I was like, whoa, that was effective. I wasn't trying to win an Emmy, I was really just excavating the truth for myself. And what happened was, it was so powerful that I started doing it for every show. I used to not go into the green rooms because I didn't want to talk to people before the show. I wanted them to be completely spontaneous on the air. For shows that were particularly critical or were going to cause somebody to feel a sense of sadness or remorse, I would go in and I would meet the people to try to make them feel more comfortable and to talk about what the process would be. But after I discovered this principle of intention, I would go into the green rooms and I would say to the guests, the first woman I said this to was on the show because her 16-year-old daughter had been murdered by her 16-year-old boyfriend. Because domestic violence among teenagers is as high as it is with grown women. So this beautiful blonde 16-year-old had been murdered by her boyfriend. The mother and father had no idea that the boyfriend was abusing their daughter, Brittany. So when I asked the mother, please tell me why you're here, she said, I'm here because your producers asked me to be here. I said, no, but why did you actually come? What is your motivation and your intention for being here? And she said, I want people to know that Brittany's life was bigger than her death. Everywhere I go, people talk about the murder, the murder, the murder. But her life was bigger than the murder. I want people to know that she was a girl who loved us. She loved her family. She loved her sisters. Her friends loved her. She laughed. She did things. She played the violin. She wanted to go to music school. I said, okay, that's your intention, to let people know that your daughter's life was bigger than her death. I can do that because I control the microphone. Now let me tell you what my intention is. My intention is to exploit your daughter's life for the purpose of letting every other 16-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 12-year-old, 40-year-old who is in the same situation as Brittany and hiding it, letting them know there is a way out. My intention is to use your daughter's life in such a way that other people can see themselves in her and be lifted from their own despair, sorrow, pain, dysfunction, and secrets. That's my intention. So every question that I ask you is not me being a voyeur, but it's me trying to excavate the truth so that other people can see themselves in your daughter's story. It was one of the best interviews I'd ever done and changed the way I did interviews. Whitney Houston on our show in 2007, before we did the whole greeting, hey girl, how you doing? I said, stop the tape, let's go behind the curtain. Tell me why you're really here. What is your intention? Just recently, I was interviewing for Super Soul Sunday, my favorite show on OWN. Thank you very much. You'll see this interview coming up. A young man named Shaka Senghor, 19 years old, sentenced to 19 years in prison for second-degree murder, 7.5 years in solitary confinement, and released 5 years ago. He's now 43. He's written a book called Righting My Wrongs. I said to him before the show, tell me, Shaka, what's your intention? He says, I want people to know that you're not the biggest mistake you've ever made. I want people to know redemption is possible. I said, okay, I can do that. Here's my intention. My intention is you big, you black, you got dreadlocks, you got tattoos, you got a 19-year prison sentence behind you. So when I introduce you, people are gonna see that, they're gonna hear that, they're gonna feel that. So my intention is to humanize you so that people won't see the package, but they will be able to feel what's inside. 20 minutes into that interview, that big black man started to cry because I asked him a question about how did you end up on the streets? And a question he didn't even know the answer to. I'd read his book and I said, I think you ended up on the streets because you always wanted to be a doctor. And there was a moment in your story where you came home as a 9-year-old boy. You remember that moment? Say, yeah, I remember that moment. The moment you came home as a 9-year-old boy and you had all A's on your report card and you walked in and your mother threw a pot of spaghetti at you and cracked the tiles on the walls. And you walked out and cleaned up yourself and thought, what did I do that for? Why did I work so hard? I think that's the moment. That was the moment you decided not worth it to keep trying in this family. So my intention to humanize him, I wasn't trying to make him cry, I was trying to make him feel. My intention with all of my work is to try to use the ability to connect to other people to open the heart space. And that's why we were #1 for 25 years, because our programming was intentionally conceived and designed to do exactly what we did. Never again, I said, am I going to be used for somebody else's agenda? What is my agenda? It shifted from just being a talk show to recognizing the power of the platform and recognizing that I am an energetic force. And everything that I'm putting out into the world is an energetic force. Your business is an energetic force in the world. Your life is an energetic force field in the world. And it is required of you as a human on the planet, getting along with other humans on the planet, to be responsible for the energy that you are putting into the world. I interviewed Jill Bolte Taylor, a neuroscientist who had a stroke, wrote a beautiful book called My Stroke of Insight. She couldn't speak, couldn't talk, couldn't feed herself, didn't know numbers, anything. After she had a stroke, now she's back to normal. But she said when she was in that state, she had a sign made that said to all the people coming into the room, because it was a stroke in the right part of her brain, left part of her brain, so only the right part of the brain was working. So she could feel the energy of people when they were coming in the room. She could feel when the nurses were coming into the room and they were already thinking about wanting to get out. She could feel when somebody put a plate down for her and they were thoughtful enough to recognize that she couldn't pick up the spoon and would help her with the spoon. She could feel the energy of that. So she put a sign outside her door that I actually copied and put in my makeup room. Be responsible for the energy that you bring into this room. Right. Because your energy is literally vibrational. And you have to have good vibrations about your business and your life. And the reason why I've been able to do as well as I've done is because I understand it's all the same. It's all the same. No matter how hard you try to balance it, you can't separate the two, because your true work on earth, no matter what you choose, your true work on earth is what you've been called to do in some form or another. And your true work on earth is your offering. It's the way you express yourself in service to the world. Your fullest, highest expression comes, obviously, when you do what you love. I just ran into Sushi Randy. I'll take some sushi home. When you do what you love and you have a passion for, obviously a spark for, when you are doing something that allows you to feel your juice, when you do actually what you came here to do, And one of the reasons why that show, you just couldn't beat us. You just could not beat us, because I was doing exactly what I was supposed to do at the time. Why? Because of this from Gary Zukav. When your personality comes to serve the energy of your soul, that is authentic empowerment. I want to say it again. When you can take your personality, which we all have, and I got a big one, when you can use your personality to serve that which is deeper, wider, stronger, higher than you could ever imagine, when you align the energy of your personality with what your soul actually came here to do, nobody can touch you. Nobody is as good at doing what you are supposed to do as you, when you are in alignment. Nobody. So my intention became to do exactly what you all are doing here, is to serve the audience, the customer, and to serve the mission, clarifying even deeper what it means to be a force for good. It's one thing to say I want to be a force for good, but what's our mission? So every single day, for every single show since 1989 when I read that book, and the producers would come in, would list and list, so you can imagine every day there's just more and more stuff. It's subjects every day. It doesn't matter how good a job you do on Tuesday, because Wednesday is another day. You had that feeling? Another day, another show. But every single day, up until the very last show, I had a pre-show meeting, I did 2 shows a day, and I had a post-show meeting to see if we fulfilled the intention that we said we were going to fulfill. And I would ask every producer, before they brought me the idea, state the intention at the top and be very clear. State what is your motivation and your intention for doing the show. So our mission was to uplift, to enlighten, to encourage, to inform, and entertain. And some days it's just entertain. Hi, Chris Rock. Hey, Oprah. And some days the producers, they're booking Brad Pitt and they're going, it's Brad Pitt, why do I need an intention? I go, I need an intention to sit in the seat. They say, just look at it. Just look at it. So every show's intention, sometimes I say, okay, the intention is, let's look at Brad Pitt and dream. Every show's intention was to serve that for the audience. And my leadership with our teams reinforced it. Tell me, what is your intention? What is your intention? What is your intention? It's a difference. It's like being a florist. Some florists sell flowers, some sell beauty. Some sell flowers, some sell celebration. Some sell flowers, some sell creativity. And when you can look to whatever it is you have chosen as your vehicle of expressing yourself on the planet and shift the paradigm to service, everything changes. Service. Every company represented here today is in service to its public, and I think that the greatest calling really there is, other than being a good mother or father, which is also in service to your children. The greatest calling is service. Martin Luther King said it better than I when he said, not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by service. So once I discovered this power of intention, which influenced my life so greatly, my #1 question for every show was, how does this serve our audience? Now, intention changed my life because I used to be a pleaser. I know a lot of women are. I used to be one of those people who could never say no, and then I'd say yes, and then I'd resent you for it, and then you'd call me again, and then I'd be upset because I couldn't understand because I already did that once, and now you calling me back. Why are you calling me back? The reason they're calling you back is because when your intention is to please people, you do. When your intention is to make them think you're nice, make them think, call me when nobody else will serve you. Call me when you need somebody to pick up your kids for the 5th time this month. Call me because I don't want to say no to you. Then they do. So when I learned that, the reason why people keep coming back is because I'm not clear about my intention. The question is, how will you serve? How do you use that which is yourself and is of your business to fulfill the highest expression for yourself and your business that's possible for you? Well, in anybody's business, you're going to make mistakes. And my feeling is, don't make worthless mistakes. Let every mistake move you forward. I'm asking the same question now of the OWN network. My biggest mistake when I started the network was assuming that I was speaking to the same audience that I knew for 25 years. Because I grew up with that audience, and everybody grew up with me, and their kids came home from school, and they watched the Oprah show. I raised a bunch of y'all, I did. I did a good job, too, I can see I did a good job. The Oprah show was a habit. So my biggest mistake was not recognizing that was a habit, and now I've got to create another habit over here on the network. So the biggest question I ask all the time is now, how can we serve this audience? Because this isn't the same audience that I grew up with for 25 years. It took us a minute and 2 years to find our footing. And I gotta tell you, it felt terrible. I was embarrassed being labeled a struggling network everywhere I turned, because all of my mistakes end up either on the CNN crawl or the evening news. But I learned something back in 1998 that served me well when I was going through the trial of starting from scratch to build a network, show by show by show. I was on trial in 1998 for saying something bad about a burger. For 6 weeks, I was in the courtroom every single day for saying something bad about a burger. I said, it stopped me cold from eating another burger over mad cow disease. The cattleman sued me, and I was literally in a courtroom every day. And what I realized when I was in the courtroom every day is that everybody has trials. There's not a person in this room who's over 17 who hadn't had some trials. And because I have such a big magnified life, I get to have a real trial with a judge. And what I learned during the trial is to ask this question: what is it here to teach me? Because there is not one thing that is happening in your life that isn't there to give you information about how to move to the next level. Everything is there. Everything is there. So I asked the question, what is this here to teach me? That's where I met Dr. Field. He goes, these good old boys gonna hand you your ass on a platter, girl. You keep asking that question. They just want to know why you said what you said. But I said there's a bigger thing going on. What is this here to teach me? What am I blind to that I'm not seeing? That's what trial is in your face for. What am I blind to that I'm not seeing? And how can I use this to move myself forward? Trial builds strength. The other question I ask is, what is my role in it? What is my role in it? What did I do to get here? So what I learned about that trial was, obviously, I wasn't trying to take the cattle industry down, but it gave me respect for what I said and how I said it. It pulled me up. It made me recognize, in an even more magnificent way, what it means to have a platform that speaks to billions of people every day. You have to be careful of what you say and how you say it. So, even a trial, all mistakes, this is what I know. No experience is wasted. Everything that has ever happened to you has also happened for you. I look back at all the mistakes that I made when I was building this network, and I can see now, oh, that was there to show me. That was there to show me. That was there to humble me. So when everybody was writing me off and saying, oh, you should have kept your day job. And everywhere I turned, I could hear it in the press. I stopped listening to the press, to other people's opinions, to what everybody else had to say about what I should be doing. And I got real still. I got real still. Because this is what I learned from Maya Angelou. The voices of the world will drown out your instinct, will drown out the voice of God, will drown out that what is pure and true to you if you can't get still enough to know for yourself what direction to move. When you don't know what to do, I've learned, do nothing until you do. The voices of the world will drown out that still small voice of intuition if you let it. So I said, God, if you, listen, you're the one that brought David Zaslav to me with this idea for a network. If you want me to do this thing, then you got to show me a way. And 2 days later, Tyler Perry called and said, let me help you. I got an idea for a drama series, Have and Have-Nots. He brought the first scripted drama to OWN, and now we're in the scripted business with many other producers. Craig Wright, who did Lost and did 6 Feet Under, Ava DuVernay, who did Selma. We turned it around. We turned it around using the principle of cause and effect, using the principle of intention, using the principle of consistency in making the next right move. So sometimes you get so overwhelmed, you don't know what is the next thing to do. As we were, biggest mistake I made was starting a network while still trying to end the show and not having the right leadership. And anybody in here who has tried to get other people to come in and do what you knew needed to be done and they were the wrong people, you know, without the right leadership, you can go nowhere. So that was my key biggest mistake. Another mistake is not paying attention to all the whispers that were showing up. You know, I have 185 daughters in college that I'm paying for. I have 20 in the United States and the rest in South Africa. And I was FaceTiming yesterday with one of my daughters who's at Brown University, and she's a junior, and she's telling me how overwhelming the junior year is. And how stressful it is, and how I just can't believe all the things that she has to do because, I mean, my God, I'm a junior, mama. So I said, what's the next right move? Let's go through this right now on the phone. What is the next right move? Well, I got 4 papers to turn in. I go, which one are you going to turn in first because you can't do them all at the same time? What is the next right move? Building a great business is really like, for me, building a great life. You learn from your mistakes, which creates strength. And you let what looks like failure be your greatest teacher. I say that to my girls all the time. I was talking to Scott backstage. You pay attention to the whispers because this is what shows up. Whispers show up in your life all the time, trying to provide a message for you to move in another direction. And many people don't get the whispers. What I've learned is if you don't pay attention to the whispers, they turn into little pebbles and it gets harder and louder. Pebbles usually represent a problem has shown up because you didn't pay attention when the whisper showed up. And if you don't pay attention to the pebble, the brick is coming. A lot of brick people. The brick is coming. And the brick now, when you could have gotten it in a message, now you're in a full-blown crisis. because you didn't do anything when you had a problem and when you got the message. And if you don't handle the crisis, you end up with a full-blown disaster on your hand. So I teach that to my girls. I also constantly remind myself, and I say to the universe, I say to God, I say to life, let me get it in a whisper, don't teach me nothing new today. So, messages unheeded turn into problems like pebbles, and crisis into disaster. What I say to you, what I'm constantly reminding myself, is to pay attention to your life, because your life is speaking to you always, in all ways. And even when situations look beyond your control, you actually have the power to shift the way you think about it. You can shift the way you see things, and things begin to be seen differently. So when Owen and I were getting bashed on a daily basis,
15 months after Owen's heralded debut, headlines around the country warn that Winfrey's daring TV adventure is in trouble. So how did the #1 woman in TV end up like this?
I don't know. I don't know. But when I was seeing all those stories, I had to say to myself, okay, what is this here to teach me? I must need to learn a whole lot. And also, I asked, how can I see it differently? What is being reflected to me is actually the struggle. Because anytime anybody asks me about it, I go, oh, it's a struggle, honey. Oh, a network is a struggle, it's a struggle, it's a struggle. And because my life is so big, that's what was being reflected back to me in the news. Every time anybody talked about it, they'd say, it's a struggle, it's a struggle. And I'd say, oh yeah, it's a struggle, it's so much a struggle. Oh, I'm climbing up a mountain, it's a struggle. So one day I had one of those come to Jesus meetings with myself under the oaks and say, show me another way. Show me another way. And I realized I needed to do what I'm sure at some point you might need to do. Need to change the narrative. Need to change the narrative for myself, the story that I was telling to myself about myself for what myself could accomplish. You need to change the narrative. How can I see it differently? Because everything comes back to the truth of you and me. What is the truth? What are you really here on the planet to serve? All of the businesses, all of the work, all of the long hours, all of the commitment, all of the dedication, all of the devotion, all of that is about what, really, are you here to serve? That's bigger than your business. That you use your business as a vehicle, as a tool of expressing who you choose to be on the planet. But what is the real calling? Why are you really here? What is the real work to be done? And how do you open yourself up to feel and express and know that in the fullest, most powerful way? Again, I say your work and life are not separate. Your work is your vehicle for your truest expression. And one of the reasons why the show was like a open heart feel for me. It was just like feeling hearts every day. Is because I understand that although I have made more money than I ever imagined, the money isn't what makes me. Although I have seen and done and accomplished more than I ever dreamed of as a poor little girl growing up in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, Katie. I mean, poor till you've been in Mississippi, Katie. I still have my feet on the ground, though I'm wearing better shoes. Because I understand that there really is no difference in separation between what people think is famous. Because fame, my definition is that it's just more people know your name and ask you for selfies. I would just like to make a national request. The next person, please know how to work your own phone. I love all these old people my age who want to do a selfie and they're like, what, where? Turn the camera on, ma'am, turn it on. Oh, selfies have changed the world. This is what I know though. This is what I know. That you want the same thing I want. And it may come in a different package. It may look different. Your square footage may be different. Your car may be different. I have a new Tesla, it's too fast for me. I'm gonna go back to my Bug because I just can't handle it. So we have differences of what makes us feel valued and worthy in the world. But when it comes down to it, you want the same thing I want. That is to be able to live out the truest, highest expression of yourself as a human being. And to use your work to be an expression of your highest offering to the planet. I wish you joy in that. I wish you the best of intention in that. Because your being here in this room today is no fluke, it is no accident, it is no luck. There is no lucky without a lot of preparation, meeting the moment of opportunity. Preparation, meeting the moment of opportunity. And just the fact that you are here and you have worked and you have tried and you have sometimes failed and you have been challenged and you kept getting up and you didn't turn away and you didn't turn back. You knew that there was something greater ahead for you. And you used those moments to build strength. Every time it looked like you weren't going to be able to make payroll, you used those moments to create a sense of determination. And this is what I know. Strength times strength times strength times strength times strength equals power. Equals power. And everybody in here, there's a level of consciousness of where you're waiting on the big moment, the big break. Will you be the winner to get your Super Bowl commercial? Waiting on the big moment. I wish it could be all of you. You're waiting on the moment, and I'm telling you, the moments are waiting for you. I want you to leave here and make a decision to step into your power and watch what happens. Bam. Bam. What you're putting out, bam, is coming back. Thank you.
Something